Welcome back to the 9 News Business Buzz. I'm Ryan Frazier, 9 News business expert. Every time you swipe your credit card, the merchant pays a fee. But right now, Colorado businesses aren't just paying fees on the goods they sell, they're paying millions on the fees on the sales tax they are required to collect for the government. In 2024 alone, $217 million flow out of Colorado Main Street businesses to cover swipe fees applied strictly to state sales tax. Now, state lawmakers are considering legislation to ban swipe fees on tax collection. Here to walk us through the math and proposed legislative fix is Michael Smith, State Director for the NFIB. Michael, welcome back on the program.
Thanks, Ryan. Great to be here.
Always good to have you. Michael, so our audience understands the math. The businesses are legally required to act as the state's tax collector, but they are also losing money in this process. Walk us through how this $217 million actually gets taken off the top of local retail and restaurant margins.
Sure. Yeah, today, so if you go down to a mom and pop retailer in Denver and you buy a basket of goods and you spend $100 and then you pay another $5 on top of that for the sales tax and you use your credit card, the small business owner is paying between 2 and 4% on that $105, the total of the goods and the taxes. And that goes to the big banks. They're paying that for the convenience of using the credit cards. This bill would eliminate paying the 2 to 4% on that $5 in this example. Because as you mentioned, yeah, today, small businesses are collecting sales tax for Colorado, but then turning around and paying millions of dollars to big banks on Wall Street. And that's not right. This is money that could be staying on Main Street businesses that can help grow the economy, help invest in small businesses here in Colorado, and not be shipped out of state to big banks on Wall Street.
Now, NFIB is part of a broader coalition here that's working on this. Tell us about the coalition that's come together on this issue, and more importantly, why now?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, we have a really impressive coalition of different industry groups, the Colorado Restaurant Association, of course, NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Business, and we represent around 6,000 members across the state, the largest small business advocacy organization in Colorado. And we have members in all types of industries, and also the Colorado Retail Council, the Tavern League, and other organizations. So it's a broad-based group of organizations that have a strong presence in the state.
Yeah. Now, some banks and credit unions are pushing back hard on this, Michael. Compliance officers at local institutions have gone on the record stating that the payment systems simply don't exist to instantly separate the fee from sales tax. They argue the bill would force a massive redesign of validation systems. Is the technology actually there to do this, or are we legislating something the software can't yet support?
I understand the technology is very complicated with financial institutions and all industries, really, for that matter. But I've never heard of policymakers not making a policy change, changing a bad policy, or not changing a bad policy because someone's systems need to be changed. So I just don't think that's really an argument. I think if they were able to change their systems, they would still oppose the bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think some would definitely agree with you that, if something's not right, it doesn't mean you don't fix it. That means you figure out how to fix the technology, right?
Right.
So I think that's a valid point, obviously. There are also opposing views. The other argument from financial institutions is that these interchange fees cover the massive costs of fighting credit card fraud. They claim that if you cut this guaranteed revenue, credit unions and community banks will just have to pass those cost of fraud protection on to the consumer. How does the NFIB kind of look at that in terms of, is this a zero-sum game?
Well, I will tell you that the cost of these swipe fees have become one of the largest expenses for many small businesses in Colorado, the second, third biggest expense, and that's extraordinary. I mean, it's important to be able to have a service for consumers to use their credit card, but when it's getting to the point where swipe fees are, exceeding the cost of hiring employees, I have members who are paying $8,000 a month, and they're like, I could hire 2 employees this year in that amount. And we're just talking about the sales tax part of it, which is, just a small fraction of the swipe fee. So, they're pulling in $2 billion plus and climbing here in Colorado. So I think they're doing pretty well, and it's increased 70% since COVID So like I said, it's only becoming a bigger expense for small businesses in Colorado.
Yeah, so basically, it sounds to me like there's other ways to pay for fraud protection. This doesn't have to be the means to do it, if you will. So that's what I'm hearing from you now. Now we're looking at data showing the 6 biggest Wall Street banks pulled in $157 billion in profit last year. Meanwhile, local restaurants are battling inflation and minimum wage hikes. If this legislation passes, and I know it's on the Senate floor right now, and you guys are hoping it gets from the Senate to the House, and that $217 million stays in Colorado, where does that money actually go? Does it lower price for consumers, or does it help small business owners just keep the doors, lights open?
Yeah,
Lights on, rather.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, every dollar for small businesses matter, for sure. And I think it's probably a number of different things depending on the business. I think some are going to have some money to invest more in their businesses, hopefully grow it, have some more money for their employees. Almost half of all Coloradans who work for small businesses. So this bill would be good for Colorado small businesses, and then in essence, good for Colorado and Colorado consumers, Colorado families. So I think it would benefit in a number of ways, but it's true also, it would help them just keep the lights on, for sure. I mean, because it is a significant expense, and they're really fighting for, to make it week in and week out, pay their employees, and every dollar does count.
Yeah. Do you think this thing gets through or not? You sure
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic, Ryan. Our coalition has worked extremely hard. And I would just urge people, contact your state senator, contact your representative, and tell them you support Senate Bill 134 to end the swipe fees on sales taxes.
Ultimately, this $217 million question about the cost is about the cost of doing business in Colorado. Every transaction has friction, and the legislature is now deciding who should pay for it when the state collects its taxes. We'll be watching this closely to see how this debate unfolds. Michael Smith with NFIB, thanks so much for your insight and coming back on the program. For the 9 News Business Buzz, I'm Ryan Frazier. Have a great week.